portrays an incident of assault and violence at the hands of police. Viewer discretion is advised.
Mr. Jesse, back the fuck up. No.
This is Baltimore City Police Officer Jorge Bernardes Ruiz. In a newly released video shot in 2016, Ruiz is seen with his knee on the back of an unknown man, with a gun pointed at the man's head. His message was a clear one. Concerned onlookers, adhere to my dictates or else. Here, we can hear Ruiz saying to Baltimore residents,
Mr. Jesse, back the fuck up. No.
It is documented that Baltimore police officer Jorge Bernardes Ruiz is a repeat violent offender, even without access to all complaints against Ruiz, undisclosed by BPD Internal Affairs records. 6 cases involving Ruiz are known. This video will briefly highlight 6 total cases beginning in July of 2013. Case 1, Abdul Salam, July 1st, 2013. Here Salam is seen victoriously smiling in celebration after the jury found Ruiz and 2 other cops liable for brutality against him. However, because the trial was civil, not criminal, Ruiz was not fired and he did not go to jail.
Police profiled me. They followed me in the back of my house, harassing me. Police proceeded to violently and hostilely approach my van with me and my son in it. As I announced this was my home, guns drawn. Once they reached my vehicle, they violently pulled me out, ramshacked my vehicle with my 3-year-old son strapped in his car seat, threw me against the gate, slammed me repeatedly, picked me up by my feet, and while I'm upside down, they proceeded to drop me on my head, hog-tie me, and immediately when I fell on my head, Ruiz, in a wrestling type of action, and kind of hit his knee against my neck. I was arrested. I had no idea what I was being arrested for. My son is scarred to this day. He remembers the incident as it happened yesterday. When he talks about it, he always refers to Daddy being on the floor with police yesterday.
Case 2, Darrell Harris, profiled, as seen in this video, July 17th, 2013.
Yeah, Fred, what's wrong with it? There's no such thing as improper way. I know the law. I know the law. I know the law. What's the problem? You giving me a ticket? You need my license registration? To profile, I use the seatbelt as a reason to profile.
Do me a favor, take out your keys.
Hey, you can record for what? Nah. I don't feel safe right now. Do you want me to step out the car? Do you want me to step out the car? I will step out the car. Call the police, man. Please call the supervisor. I want to do shit. This is getting uploaded to the internet right now.
Yeah. And we are 2 law-abiding citizens that we're getting targeted, and I don't know why.
Just 24 hours later, Bernardes Ruiz played a leading role in the police killing of unarmed Tyrone West. Case number 3, the murder of Tyrone West, July 18th, 2013.
My brother Tyrone West was brutally murdered on July the 18th, 2013.
In both of these cases, when you look at the pleadings and the harsh language of these officers that have been quoted to me by reliable witnesses, the N-word.
And Killer Ruiz and Killer Chapman and the rest of those 11 and 15 killers, including David Lewis, took something from my family that they could never give us again. And that was my brother Tyrone West, one unarmed man who was brutally murdered, beat to death in broad daylight.
Mic check, mic check. This is West Wednesday number 394. We are here to protest in the name of the victims of police violence and for justice for Tyrone West. Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check. So, thank you to Ben, and as people said, this week now 392. We have been tirelessly nonstop fighting for accountability, not just for my big brother Tyrone West, but for all the victims of police brutality and murder. And tonight, we're gonna have joining us around 7:30ish, our queen sister Mara, who is the mother. She is Jamal Taylor's children's mother. They had 4 children together, 4 beautiful children together. And Jamal Taylor, unfortunately, was brutally executed in Prince Georgia County. So it's just really sad. So she'll be joining us, and she has joined us on this platform many a times, as well as Nicole. But other than that, we don't have any special guests. And the reason being is I like to do things in decency and in order. And yesterday was a very, very important day for me. And I literally was on, not just for me, but for all the victims' families of police brutality that has been fighting like hell to repeal the Officer Bill of Rights, as many other legislation pieces that were brought in front of us for us to testify. And literally, I was online, literally at work all day through the middle of the night. Like literally, it started. I was supposed to testify at 1:30, but I said, well, let me, switch breaks with my co-teacher and be ready at around 1:15, like that, just in case, they called me a little sooner. You never go on at the time you expected. And literally, I thought something was wrong. It went on to the 3 o'clock hour, and I'm like, okay, it's time for the clock back. And like, I literally lost all these hours of not being paid. And then I'm still listening, still in queue, nothing, driving home, nothing. And then finally, like 7 o'clock, I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. So I'm hitting people up like, what's going on? But literally, we were up literally to midnight testifying. Like, this is utterly ridiculous. But for the fact, and I don't know who makes the agenda in Annapolis, as far as like what bills and cases that they hear first, but for them to actually have very important bills such as the Officer Bill of Rights, for that to be heard at literally 11 o'clock at night. But I give it up for the soldiers, the freedom fighters, because we stood tight. Like, I give it up for all the moms. I was excited and sad at the same time, because it makes me sad when I hear any mother, sister, brother, friend, or anybody testifying about their loved ones reliving their pain, trauma. But it felt good that I'm like, okay, I'm not the only one that's up and that's taking this thing serious. I saw our sister queen, Miss Greta. She was in queue, and she was talking about her baby being executed right in front of her face. Kevin Cooper murdered in front of her face, her teenage baby. I could not imagine while she's holding her grandbaby that was a couple months old in the car, like literally. So, and then my sister Tracy was on there. She was holding up her brother that was executed at the Starbucks. Like, this is the official text to literally attack, because literally, like a year before he was murdered, he got attacked inside of the Starbucks or around by the Starbucks, and the officer actually stabbed him up. Like, are you crazy? Are you serious? Like, what is going on? Like, you can actually not, just pull out your gun, but you actually got a pocket knife on you. You're stabbing someone up. And so, of course, he was able to defend himself. He was able to win. But when you're fighting this ugly, evil system, it's no winning in this. I'm sorry, it's no winning. It's a bunch of retaliation. It's a bunch of crap. It's a bunch of stuff that really makes the victims' families and us that's advocating, it makes us look like we're going stone cold nuts. Like, you couldn't make this stuff up. Hollywood couldn't make this stuff up. And literally, and like, if you saw our guest last week, my brother that was on here, Marquise, he was on here, and it's just said, like, he was the one first, but the brutal execution of Michael Brown Jr. that was laying on the ground in Ferguson. His house was maybe 25 feet away, so literally he's seeing this unarmed young teenager this unarmed young teenager being, just left out for roadkill for hours, and the media downplayed and said, oh, he was up out there maybe like a half hour. He was up out there. Marquise had been told me years ago for like 5.5 hours uncovered. Like, that is cool. This is what we experience right here in Averta. This is our everyday reality. Not because we're doing something wrong, not because sometimes, most of the case, we're not even breaking any laws. The only thing we're doing wrong, and unfortunately, is being in our skin. It's something that we can't change, and it's something that I would never change. If I get to pick and come back in another lifetime, and I get to choose which race I want to be, I'm proud to be this color. I will always, no matter how much we struggle, no matter all the hell and torture that we go through being in a black body, I will never, ever sell my soul out and say I want to come back as another. I would not want to do that. But again, about last night, it was really powerful because anytime you had over 100 folks in queue ready to tell their story, but it really pissed me off when the chairperson said, okay, we got like 100 people online waiting, and I'm just gonna say, I know, things happen to your loved ones, but I don't hear anybody talking about their personal stories, about their brothers, their mothers, and things like that. Just go straight to the point of what you were like, really, are you freaking kidding me? And that's why when I got on, I had to restrain from using potty words because I didn't want my message to be lost. But I let them have it because I'm unfiltered. I don't work for anyone. I'm here for the long haul, and that's for us to get accountability. And until we get accountability, it's going to keep being the same Doug and Pony show. These people, they don't care. Like, some of them used to, like, we used to be, and I rewind back because I remember my first time, me and my family, being in Annapolis. And I remember my cousin Tavon that was just brutally murdered for no reason. We don't know what happened. They're not being transparent to my family. But I know that my cousin was not a street guy. So his murder makes no sense. No sense. And I'm not going to dare believe in anything else until I get back. So moving right on, because I don't want to start crying and break it down, because I know my cousin, she would not want to see me break it down and crying. But I definitely got his back, and I'm never going to stop until we find out what happened to my cousin. What happened, why, and who did it. That will never go anywhere. But anyway, but I remember being with my cousin, him going to Annapolis, and my family, the West End, like we was first out there before we became a coalition. I love you guys as well, but just my family being out there, my blood relatives, we out there, we looking amazing, looking good, and going. And I remember, I'll never forget Pastor Hebert. He was out there in Annapolis with us. He decided to get his church. He donated his church van, his church bus, and basically got like 2 or 3 of his church buses, and we provided transportation to take folks to go and testify against the Office of Bill of Rights. We've been doing this thing, like I said, since 2014. Billy, my brother, was murdered in 2013, and I couldn't wait till it was time to, for the next year when it was time to testify in Annapolis, because he was murdered on July 18th, so that was around the time session was and things like that. So we had to wait, because if we were able to testify, back then, I would have in 2013. But unfortunately, until this type of pain knocked on my family, not thinking I was better than no one, not thinking that it could never happen to my family, but the pain hit different when it's your loved one. Because at the end of the day, before my family was brought into this, I actually believed, and I feel like a damn fool, I actually believed in this system. I really honestly did. I believe that it had some flaws, because life is not perfect, but I believe that it will be led by integrity, by truth, what you can, what you see. And the fact that, my brother's brutal execution was basically captured by video footage. We had over 32 witnesses out there, but literally when you deal with a dirty ass system, and I'm just going to be blunt and excuse my language, But when we deal with that type of system that is designed to wipe us out, then it clicks in. This is legalized genocide. That's all it is. It's never. I used to think, okay, well, some part of it was broke, but it never was fixed. This system been taking us out for over 400 plus years. Let's be clear. This didn't just start. Now that we have so much social media and so many things that we can, see, brutal, heinous attacks. Now, we can publicize it and show it on our phone. We can pull out our cell phones and video. But before cell phones were around and things like that, they were beating people up, leaving them dead in the alley. I done heard women testify, literally, that's damn near my grandmother age, talking about their sons and daughters being murdered in alleys and by police officers, and nothing happened. I don't want to be that grandmother. I don't want to be 80-something years old still talking about what happened to Tyrone West and what happened to my cousin Tavon. Will we have answers then? It's just really sad. It's disgusting. But that is the way this damn system is. But for us to still be having a conversation in 2021 about the Office of Bill of Rights, which places them above the law, gives them all type of immunities, whereas so that they can just completely murder us and they don't get interrogated, they get an interview. That's a big difference. If I go ahead and I kill somebody, they can interrogate me and you feel an interrogation, but they're getting an interview as if, and then the crazy part, they get 3 interviews and they get 2 of them are, 2 of them are not recorded, only 1 is recorded, and that last one is when their lawyers jump in, because the first one, they give their statement of facts of what they believe to happen if they recall. And the crazy part, when they murder us and beat us down, they don't recall a goddamn thing. Their memory, I don't recall. And then as they let the years cook in, that would happen in 2013. But even in 2013, when it happened, and taken 154 days later, we're asking, they couldn't recall something. I don't remember, it was 154 days. Now we're looking at damn near 8 years. So that's the game. That's the #1 word that they use. I don't recall. I don't recall. But anyway, but to actually go and literally spend the night in Annapolis, y'all. Literally, I remember Pastor Hebrew, and that is the real true man of God. Like, I love him. Big up to him. Big up to my bishop, Pastor Wilson. They are true men of God. Like, they actually walk that walk. They don't just talk the talk. But shout out to Hebrew, because let me tell you what he does. He goes, I ain't never seen no pastor go that hard in my whole entire life, that he wears the African century colors, like he talks, nobody's cracking his, I love him. Like, that is my true brother. Like, but literally, and I remember he was getting death threats on Twitter. I'll never forget, we were in Annapolis, literally, we're in Annapolis, and this is in 2014, and he's showing me, and I'm like, why do you look like that? Everything okay? He's like, no, it's not really. But he was trying to be so cool about it. And I'm like, what? And he was showing me all the threats that people were sending him. You're supposed to be a man of God. You out there with them. Oh, shame on you. You're going to burn in hell. Like, sending him going in on our brother just for actually getting a bus and going up there to testify and say, wow, our back is made. It was utterly ridiculous. And then I remember to the point, we literally went out there. We got there 8 o'clock in the morning. We were like, right, we just knew by like 4:30 everything was going to wrap up. It's 4:30, the buses had to leave. Literally, we still didn't get a chance to testify about the Officer Bill of Rights. And I'm like, are you kidding me? It wasn't until 10:36. I'll never forget. 10:36. I'm sitting there at night testifying to the point. I told them, but I said, look, if I got a hitchhike to go back to murder, I don't give a damn. I was spending the night. I'm not leaving until I testify. And for them to actually put, and I'll never forget, they actually put animal rights in front of human rights. They had a bill about animal rights, about animal cruelty, and they had a dog in there and everything. And I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? As much as I think animals are cute and adorable, and I'm afraid of, everybody know me, I'm afraid of puppies, cats, all that. Only animal I ain't scared of, and that's goldfish. But anyway, moving right on. But to actually bear witness of the foolery, the foolishness at its all-time level high, to actually have us to go through all that and have, like, literally on the bus, we had over 300 people, but half of them had to leave because they had to go back, get kids from school. They had to go back. They didn't expect that. But I was like, you know what? I'm calling family members like, hey, Go pick up my children from school. They're like, I got you, got it. Bam, thank God it worked out because I wind up staying there, literally. And I don't even remember how I got back home, to be honest, but I did make it back home. And I still out to say that last night it broke in all time. So I literally was testifying like 11 something for the refill. And then the last bill that was finally heard was about Antoine Black, who was executed. Like, literally, are you serious? Like, are you kidding me? You put a black young 19-year-old that was slaughtered, right? You put his life didn't matter to the fact that you put him at the last end of the stick, and we still held in there and we testified for the Antoine Black. And basically, but at the end of the day, I'm with all that, the big forms, but at the end of the day, until we transform this whole damn system, to me, we need to knock it down and build it back up. Because to me, the reforms and all that, just like I told the Associated Press, I did that interview with them today. I told them, even though it feels like, even if they knock it out for the total repeal of the Office of Bill of Rights, and if they do that, yeah, that's a little bit, but it's almost one of those things. You won the battle, but we're still at war. So that's really tough. We got a long way to go. But it's an easy, quick fix. The only thing that I can see that will actually hold these killer cops accountable is placing them in a jail cell. The same way that if I was to go and murder somebody, the same way that when street crimes happen, once they find a person, you probably will never see them again, especially if they black or brown. That's personally. But that process needs to happen to officers, and I think they need to be held to a higher standard because they put us in a vulnerable position. For the simple fact that day, y'all saw the video. You saw it at Blue Salon, July the 1st, 2013. In his driveway with his baby, his 3-year-old at the time, and sitting in the back seat of a hot car. They made him turn the car off, and they said this man didn't have on his seatbelt. As they're pulling him out, brutal Ruiz, pulling him out of his car, right, by his head, and begin his heinous attack. Him and Chad, right, started kicking him, stomping him. He said they tossed him on his head almost like a basketball, just like what happened to Anthony Anderson. But the only thing that saved Abdul Salam's life, let's be crystal clear, is his 80-year-old, his elderly neighbor that knew him. And the crazy part, he is the father, right? And he told him at the time, he said, look, my wife is at work. He's the father, right, of his child. And he says, hey, I want my neighbor, Miss Shirley, to get my son Amir. Let Miss Shirley take. And Ruiz is like, no, Miss Shirley, if your wife, it made a direct order, like, who the hell are you to tell me if I'm the mother, I'm the lead parent, and I tell you I want my child to go to Joe Blow, you better send my child to Joe Blow. But the fact that he was disrespected and they told him, oh no, Miss Shirley can't get your child. If your wife is not here in a half an hour, you're going to be picking your child up from CPS like, oh, you freaking kidding. And his wife had to literally rush over at the time to get her baby from the scene and brutal attack. And I know that baby boy is messed up for the rest of his life. And as you saw in the video, described that all he keeps saying that daddy was on the floor with the police. That's all this baby's going to remember. Seeing his dad, which he calls the ground, the floor. Daddy was on the floor with the police. And you saw Darrell Harris 24 hours before my brother was murdered. Literally 3 blocks away. Who's better? Ruiz. And the fact that he's still working, we knew about the 6 that include my brother's brutal murder, right? And he's an unarmed man, right? But in a child, like he went into Medina's house and went ham, went in and traumatized her poor son, who would never be the same. A teenager, seeing mommy and daddy on the streets by Ruiz busting in their house. And if you stay tuned, if you didn't see the whole video by now, stay tuned to the end. You'll see the other guy, whose house he busts up in the 6th, whose house he busts up in, talking about where the drugs, because why? He was a part of the gun trace task force, the elite gun trace task that basically stalked our folks in the city, our black men and women, and children, unfortunately. Now I'm gonna be clear and children, meaning teenagers, right? Because let's talk about Detective Suter real quick. Because that day when Detective Suter was executed, we know that he didn't kill himself. That's my belief. It's not the West Coalition. This is the Wanda Jones group. So anything that I'm saying out my mouth, I'm not speaking for the whole group. That's clear. I'm speaking from my point. This is Tawanda Jones' point of view. But nobody knows that Detective Suter was over there investigating a 15-year-old teenager that was gunned down on that same block, right? He was going over there to investigate that. But the crazy part about it was that team said that he had proof that he basically got robbed by police officers. They took 10 grand off of his kid, right? And let him go. He's like, he put in a complaint. He's like, you know what? No, they took my money. I want my money back. And then he mysteriously is murdered. And then that day, a whole lot of hell went. Everything went wrong. A lot of hell broke loose. Because they set this Detective Suter up. They set the stage for him to be executed. And not just executed, they broke bread. They made sure he got executed with his own damn gun. But then meanwhile, they had that whole block under siege for at least 6 weeks. Nobody could come in or out that block. Nobody. People that lived there, residents that lived there. And that wasn't the first block under siege. Guess what? Kitmore and Cowsway. In 2013, they were under siege as well. Because they could not get in and out, have access. They was bringing those neighbors and witnesses down, treating them, basically trying to make them recant their story. So I gave it up for all the witnesses that didn't know my brother from a can of paint to actually put their life on the line and say, you know what, they beat that young man from across the street to down the street to up the street. We ain't never seen nothing like that in our life. They told what they saw. But through all that testimony, through all that, guess what? Marilyn Mosby still had Ruiz working. And even though she claimed, oh, well, this didn't happen on my chamber, well, guess what? He's still working on your chamber, dear. While you going around taking all these trips around the world and all that kind of foolishness, whatever you do in your personal life or doing your daytime job or whatever, the same way you go after Keith Davis Jr., an innocent man who now I learned through social media has COVID-19, after basically you leave a bullet in this man to actually make him die. Because if they don't kill you alive, they bury you. They bury you alive. They don't kill you, they bury you dead. They bury you alive. They bury you alive. Let's be crystal clear. And that's what they're trying to do with Keith Davis Jr., an innocent man. But for all this stuff to go on, and we keep on talking about victims after victims, and we're still in 2021 talking about repealing something that should have never happened. This is old, antiquated. It happened since 1974, and it was basically a racist act. They were mad about what was going on. Look at what was going on in 74. You know, I wasn't, but look at what was going on in 74. All type of movements was going out and things like that. How many times does history got to repeat itself? How many black bodies, how many brown bodies, and even how many Caucasians got to be murdered by people from law enforcement officers that's supposed to serve and protect? They're not serving anybody. The only thing they're doing is serving us death and brutality while they are protected. Enough is enough. So like I said, we will have
It's 7 o'clock.
Joint, you know, around 7:30 to give us the support and for us to uplift Jamal Taylor's name. And tonight I just want you to be in this space and not just think about my brother Tyrone, but I want you to think about all the victims of police terrorism. Let's think about Anthony Anderson, who was murdered through my brother. Let's think about Kevin Cooper, a teenage baby that was murdered in his mother's face, literally, but just throwing a tantrum, a teenage tantrum. Imagine if your baby was throwing a tantrum because two of his loved ones had got in a car accident. He couldn't understand that. And then you, at the time, you felt like you could call your sisters and brothers in the blue because you are a correctional officer. You're still an officer. You know, you're like, okay, let me call 911, you know, get a little bit of assistance. He's throwing his tantrum, but he wasn't hurting anyone. And you murder him in front of his mother. And they get to walk away. They get to enjoy their damn baby. And meanwhile, we go through this hell, unbelievable. hell that you cannot make up, disrespect that you cannot make up. I just want to know how many more bodies, how many more people got to get killed. Is somebody else 20 years, 30 years from now going to be doing another event in honor of their loved one? Because now with West Wednesday, like, and it sparked up different families in different ways to be like, hey, you know what? If the West family can do that, now I can. You know, we have a sister in New York, and I'm quite sure Uncle Bill can give us, you know, her loved one's name, because I can't keep up with all the names, and I don't want to disrespect it and mess it up. But I know that they do it on a Friday. That's his special day. And then I have my sister Queen, Miss Thompson, that lifts up her grandson, and then not just her, but her daughter, as well as Stephon Clark's brother. And y'all met him, he came through the show. You know, Shaquan, he came through here or whatever numerous times, but nevertheless, they do Stephon Clark Sunday. But how many more days of the week that we gotta celebrate or uplift our loved one name from bloody murder? And then all the homicides that are happening in the city, all they keep on doing is making these things seem like they isolated incidents, and then they keep blaming it community violence when nobody's getting caught. We don't know what the hell going on. That's why I always told y'all, I don't believe in all this community violence. I'm sick of seeing good people, healthy people getting murdered for no reason, and we're like, oh, well, we need to stop killing each other. Do you know who killed that person? Are you certain? Like, we need to have these conversations because it's real. And it's all to that highway of hell that I told you about. Even though my lane is police brutality, but it's all connected. I'm not separate. It's all connected to that highway of hell. You got homeless people, you got the poor education in schools, you got all these issues that affect black and brown people the most. Let's be clear. The most. Okay? And then we're the ones suffering from it. But what they do is they'll push us. Oh, you go over here. You talk about community violence. You talk about, oh, no, it's together. We should be talking about these damn issues together. We should be turning up together. United we stand, divided we fall. And that's how this damn cruddy system keeps wiping us out. And I must end on this note real quick, and we're going to have a conversation. I know I've been on, I can go on all night. But anyway, I want to let you guys know, as soon as they put our loved ones in a body bag, as soon as they cover us up, they cover up again. Immediately. As soon as they put that yellow tape around, you better believe you me, they're covering up, especially when you have racist killer cops murdering us. They cover up immediately. When I say racist, it doesn't matter your skin color, because when you're a law officer, it's about that color blue. It's about that color blue. It's that wall of silence that they won't dare break. It's like being in a gang. They're the worst gang in America. The worst gang. Because guess what? They get to do legal line genocide. They're covered under the color law. They can get to do anytime they feel comfortable. I just seen a horrible video of a child being pepper sprayed. You know why they do it? Because they can, and they will. How many more George Floyds? How many more Freddie Grays? Breonna Taylors? The list goes on. And the crazy part is a different name, but the same game. Bloody murder. And they do it the same way. The same way. You just hear a different name. You'll hear about the activist that stood up on the front line, Durance Hill. And he was gunned down, burned up, all of that. Why? Because he stood up for what's right. And the crazy part, like Marquise, our last guest last week, that basically talked to you guys, he basically told you guys what it was. So, mic check.
Mic check. We have two comments that were posted on Facebook. I'd like to share them. One is from Hillary, and she says she's commenting on something you said earlier. She said, "That's right, Tawanda Jones. Elected officials are supposed to work for and listen to their constituents. It is their job to listen to the people." And we had just a moment ago another comment by Charlene saying, "Violence is violence. Sanctioned police violence is intertwined with community violence." And I'd like to mention that last night during the testimony for the legislative hearings about police brutality, Tawana, you really let them have it at one point. You said, if you don't do what's right with these bills, the blood is on your hands. And I think you were sharp and you were correct, and it was good that they heard that. One of the things that strikes me is that if we succeed this year in repealing the Law Enforcement Officers' Bill of Rights, in getting the opportunity to have access to police records when they've been charged but haven't been found guilty, when we want to stop the armed private police force at Hopkins, if we're successful with some of these things or all of these things, it may appear as if the heroes are these politicians. But the reality, as I see it, is that the 15 million people this summer who participated in protests and uprisings all around the country after the killing of George Floyd and these other horrible killings, that mass movement is really what has caused the possibility and the likelihood of getting a little bit of change in the state legislature and the legal system in Maryland. So in other words, I think the mass movement created the change, created a new understanding, and the legislators, really what they're doing, if they do anything, is they're codifying it. They're putting it down on paper, but we've created this new reality through this mass movement.
Thank you, Uncle Bill. I just want to say that I agree with you 300%. You're on fire tonight. I definitely agree. And I want to thank Charlene and both Hillary for commenting. I also want to thank you for reading their comments, because lots of times I can't even see it because I actually, right now, on my cell phone, and I'm unable to see the comments. So thank you, ladies, for sharing your comments.
You know, we have, unfortunately, we have a very large list tonight of people that have been killed around the country by the police. And if you'd like to honor those people before we have our guest speaker, since we have to wait for a few more minutes, we could do that at this time.
Yeah. So before you actually read that list, I just want to again remind folks. I want you to get in a nice, still place. I don't know if you're in your home, you're in your car, but I know you're watching this. But I want you, if you can, if you're driving, that's cool, but I want you to get in a safe space, a peaceful space, and I want you to really, really, as Uncle Bill reads off these names, what if, and this is a horrible question, I hate to be the one to pose a horrible question, but what if your loved one was doing this list? What if? How would you feel? How would you get it? So as he reads this, that these are real people. These are real names, and this pain is real. This pain is real. And at the end of the day, my point is I wouldn't care. Because half the time we always trying to like humanize our loved ones and say, oh, well, they wasn't doing this wrong, and they at the end of the day, let's be crystal clear, even if in some instance that they are breaking the law, if they are going through a mental health crisis, or they're just breaking the law, it is called the due process of the law. And everyone should be able to be held accountable. And that's, you arrest them, you take them through the due process. You don't murder them, you're not judged during execution. So let's be clear, I wouldn't care if they were breaking the law. No one deserves to be a statistic, okay? No one deserves to be on the damn list. And no one family deserves to be put in a place where though now they gotta tell you about their loved ones. Now, only thing we have left is freaking memories. You take something so precious that you could never ever give us back. Never give us back. You couldn't write a check fat enough to cover up your dirt. So I want you to let that resonate as Uncle Bill and we all read these names off. Thank you, Uncle Bill.
All right, and before I read the list, I want to mention two more comments that were posted on Facebook. Marcella said, the heroes are the movements that put pressure on those police officers and politicians. And Killam said, rest in power, all victims, West Wednesday. And he specifically uplifted Greg Taylor, murdered by Seattle police last night. So the list I'm going to read Last West Wednesday, we read the names of those who were killed by police around the country up through January the 24th. The list tonight starts with January the 26th, and I'm going to tell you where the person was from and their name, and if we'd like to repeat it to honor the person, that would be very good. And keep in mind that none of these people should have died. The first person was 61 years old, and he was from Vacaville, California. His name was Mark Meza.
Mark Meza.
And the next person has not yet been identified, was killed by police in Homeland, California on the same day, also January 26th. And then we have a woman who was killed by the police in Adams County, Colorado, also on the 26th, and she has not yet been identified in the news. Also on the 26th of January, 48 years old, an Hispanic man. This was in San Antonio, Texas. His name, Felix Santos.
Felix Santos.
Felix Santos.
37 years old, also on January 26th, killed by police in Mobile, Alabama, Edward Bittner.
Edward Bittner.
Killed by police on the following day, the 27th of January, in San Antonio, Texas, 26 years old, Eric Mejia.
Eric Mejia.
On the 29th, killed in La Quinta, California by police, an unidentified person, and they haven't given us the age either. Another person, not yet identified, January the 30th in Shepherdsville, Kentucky, and they haven't given his age either. 61 years old on January the 30th, Paradise Valley, Arizona, Kenneth Michael Dallas.
Kenneth Michael Dallas.
Kenneth Michael Dallas.
In Dixon, California, on the 31st, 29 years old, Carl Walker.
Carl Walker.
Walker.
If anyone's just joining the program this evening, our West Wednesday weekly rally online, I'm reading the names of people who've been killed in the recent weeks by police around the United States. The next was a person on January the 31st in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and unfortunately we don't have that person's name yet. Also on January 31st in Broken Bow, Oklahoma, 39 years old, Franklin Gray.
Franklin Gray.
Franklin Gray.
On February the 1st in Tucson, Arizona, 34 years old, Andrew Kislick.
Andrew Kislick.
Andrew Kislick.
On February the 1st again, in Caroline County, Virginia, 58 years old, Richard Thomas.
Richard Thomas.
Richard Thomas.
Also on February 1st, 57 years old, in Snyder, Texas, Kevin Hayes.
Kevin Hayes.
Kevin Hayes.
And I'm sorry, tonight we have to go through a long list. There are many people that have been recently had their lives stolen by the police. In East Pretoria, Illinois, on February the 2nd, 19 years old, Joshua Kreitz.
Joshua Kreitz.
Joshua Kreitz.
Also on February the 2nd, in Sunrise, Florida, an unidentified person, hopefully we'll find out who that was. And on the 2nd, also in Meridian, Mississippi, a man also killed by police, not yet identified. Once more on the 22nd, this time in Franklin Town, North Carolina, another person unidentified. On February the 3rd, in Deming, New Mexico, this is a man but not yet identified, and we don't know his age. Also on February the 3rd, excuse me for a moment, sorry. Also on February the 3rd, another man, the age is not known and we haven't been told his name. Again, February the 3rd, this is in Lenoir City, Tennessee, 56-year-old woman, Tracy Walter Hensley.
Tracy Walter Hensley.
Tracy Walter Hensley.
On February the 4th, Las Cruces, New Mexico, 39 years old, Omar Cueva.
Omar
Cueva.
In Alta Sierra, California, 33-year-old, February the 4th, Ariella Crawford.
Ariella Crawford.
Ariella Crawford.
And that was a woman. In Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, February the 4th, 30 years old, Tilford Barton.
Tilford Barton.
Tilford Martin.
On February the 4th, again, this is in Mobile, Alabama, 18-year-old Trey Webster.
Trey Webster.
Ray Webster.
Again, February the 4th, Baltimore, Maryland, Dante Green, 34.
Dante Green.
This is High Point, North Carolina, 34 years old, Joshua Drummond Cruz.
Joshua Drummond Cruz.
Joshua Drummond Cruz.
Also on February the 5th in Ogden, Utah, a man, but his age is not given, and we don't yet know who he is. On February the 5th, 25 years old, in Flatwood, Ohio, Andrew Hogan.
Andrew Hogan.
Andrew Hogan.
Again on February 5th, another person, Martinsville, Virginia, a man, his name is not known, and we don't, well, that's it, I'm sorry. Hopefully we'll find out. On February the 6th in Long Beach, California, a man killed by police, not yet named. On February the 6th in Laytonsville, Maryland, 52 years old, Kevin Costo.
Kevin Costo.
February the 6th in Kearns, Utah, unidentified man. On February the 6th again, this time in Sarasota, Florida, another unidentified. February the 6th once more, 23-year-old in Mesa, Arizona, again, not yet identified. On February the 6th once more, in Phoenix, Arizona, 29-year-old Anthony Greco.
Anthony Greco.
Greco.
On February the 7th, in Lakeview, Texas, also unidentified at this point in time. On February the 7th, in Bettendorf, Iowa, a man whose name has not yet been identified, also killed by police. And it's very hard to read so many names of people whose lives have been stolen. And that's the end of our list for tonight. And we have with us our guest now, if you'd like to introduce her.
Yeah, first of all, I want to thank you for that list. And it was really sad, and it also was very interesting that you would read the list. We heard some type of creepy music or creepy sound effects. That was just really weird. I honestly don't believe it was coming from any of our homes, because by now we all know how to mute our phones. So I just thought that was very, very interesting. And before we bring on our beautiful guests, I just wanted to let you guys know what to say, like all those things he read, like, and this is just literally like last month up until this month. Like, are you kidding me? Like, so many names, like so many names. Just imagine if the tables were turned and those were fallen officers, names that we were reading off like that. Do you imagine the type of publicity and what would be happening and the outrage and what everybody was doing? It'd be a total different. It'd be a total difference. Why is there so many names? It's like, oh, well, just another damn name. No, we gotta change that narrative. But nevertheless, I'm not gonna say that I mean, I'm honored at the same time to have our queen, because I'm always honored to be around our queen, sister Mara. But it makes me sad because it's pain associated with me meeting Mara. Like, I didn't meet her under like, oh, hey, how you doing? We went to the nail shop, getting our nails done type of thing. No, I met her through pain. Like, literally, her cousin reached out to me, and when he told me what she was going through, that her children's father was actually executed, I'm like, oh my God, like, I couldn't stop crying. And she always makes me tear up. So no further ado, our sister Queen Mara. Mic check.
Mic check. Peace and blessings, everyone. It's always an honor to be on West Wednesday. It's so hard when you have a loved one that's murdered by the police. You feel lost. You don't know where to go. And I'm so grateful my cousin had reached out to Tawanda, because when I tell you she was a light and a lifesaver, oh my God, she gave me so much hope. Like, when I did my first speech, I was so timid and nervous and sad and just all over the place. But I learned a lot from Tawanda, man, and I'm grateful for her. So grateful. So my name is Marva O'Neill. My children's father was murdered on September 28th of 2019. It's a video of it. My children could see it one day. They haven't seen it yet. A lot of people saying it. A lot of people were commenting on it, and they had multiple stories. And it's crazy because he was unidentified. Like, me and his family found out through Instagram that he was killed. We seen a video and we seen it was him. The police didn't come to my house until Monday. He was killed on that Saturday. Monday they came to my house to tell me it was him. But we had already seen it on social media. And you know, it's a sad reality to see his death on social media, but it was also necessary. Because imagine if we didn't see, imagine if that person didn't record it, we would have never known what happened to him. We would have thought he was missing. You know, we would have been hurt. We would have been trying to figure out what was wrong with him. So it's really sad to hear the unidentified people, because it brings back a lot of memories. And today I just thought about reflection, like reflecting on things. As far as a lot of people hear certain names that's associated with lost lives, Black Lives Matter, stolen lives. But do you hear the other names? The names people forgot about, the names nobody knew. I think people should focus more on those names as well. Those families are hurt, they're in pain. Like, you can't imagine grieving and have to go against the government and figure out the story that happened to your loved one, because they always lying, making up stories to cover their tail. So the fact that you have to go through that, and to go through that alone, and to feel like nobody care anyway, this person don't really matter, it's really sad to me. And it's this website that I went to that did Jamal name on cards, say their names, and they actually share these stories. And I think y'all should just go to the page, say their names memorial, and just see those different lives and see those different names, and whoever is sharing these different lives and names. Because y'all have George Floyd's in Baltimore, y'all have Breonna Taylor's in Baltimore, y'all had them in your city, and people tend to forget about that, and they don't understand the pain that these people are going through, trying to put together rallies, trying to get somebody who cares, because when the people care, the system care. So that's why people want people to care about their cases and their loved ones. So I just think people should, look more into the other lives that's been affected by, there's other lost lives that's taken by police brutality. Definitely, I think people should look at that and realize it's not the trend. This is real life. We are really going through it. We are really in pain. When the camera's off, when the riots stop, when the protests stop, we are sitting here in pain. We're sitting here hurting. When the people went up to that Capitol and did what they did, and they didn't get shot at, they didn't get tear gas, they didn't get rubber bullets and blinded, and we go do what we do to fight for lives, and they doing it for a president, to sit there and see that was so traumatic for me. It was traumatic for my family. It just hurt so bad to sit there and watch that. And it's like, wow, this is real. Like, it's real. It's real, but blatantly in your face, showing me that this is what, it's okay for them to do some stuff. But when we go out there and protest our lives and our rights as human beings, y'all are shooting us. It makes people scared to even go to protest and rallies. But you can sit up here and go into a Capitol building and do all the stuff that you do, and nothing happened until afterwards. It's just absolutely sad and ridiculous. It's sad and ridiculous, and it's trauma. It's a lot of trauma in our community sitting back watching this. So, I just think people should just become more informed about the many different names, the many different lives that has to go through this sad tragedy. And thank you for having me. Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check.
I just want to thank you, sister, as usual. Like, you always bring the flame and the fire. That's why I can't believe you said you used to be quiet. But I just want to thank you. And you brought a flashback, because it was like when Uncle Bill was reading off about the unidentified people. I'm like, in my mind, it traumatized me as well. And I was going to wait to say something, later, because I was going to even ask him, we need to start following up on these unidentified people, because guess what? They play a lot of games, because guess what? Even though my brother had his identification on him, he had my car, my vehicle, they knew who the hell I was. If they thought that he didn't have anything, they could have said, hey, Tawana Jones, we just killed your brother in a green Mercedes Benz. What's his name, by the way? But they listed my brother as a damn John Doe. He was listed as a damn John Doe, and they knew who he was. So we need to do research on these unidentified, because that's for them to run their little game. Like I said, as soon as they cover our bodies up, the cover up begins. Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check.
I want to point out one thing that we, until the pandemic, we used to have West Wednesday always on the street, and anybody who came along and participated was welcome to get up on the microphone and say what they wanted to say, what came from their heart, what came from their understanding of trying to make a better world. And so during the pandemic, one of the weaknesses is it's hard for people who are watching this to participate. So starting next week, we have someone, his name is Marcellus, and he's gonna come on and he'll be reading all the comments people write on Facebook and elsewhere, and he'll read them out loud, and then people who are here on the screen can comment, and so we could try to make this a little more interactive and participatory.
So,
Thank you. And can I say something real quick? This is really also interesting to me that now, and it could just be a lot because there's a lot of things going on with social media, but now all of a sudden we can't do watch parties on Facebook. It's just like, to me, I feel like every time we always put this hurdle up. So that's why, guys, I'm not able to do an actual watch party. The crazy part, I'm not even able to do, and that's why I give a special shout out to the West Coalition for actually being able to put this platform up. Because every time when I tried, when we first started this online, because like Uncle Bill said, we used to be on Greenmount Avenue, outside Greenmount or Northeast Police District, just anywhere, out in the street. I don't care what the weather is. I'm not being outside and it's raining sideways, but nevertheless, they do all of this foolishness and they interfere with things. Like, I couldn't even do a Facebook Live without my phone freezing up. They used to freeze on Fremont, and the same thing is done. That's why I have to share from our brother's page, share from Uncle Bill page, share from Brother Ben page, just to say it. But this is our reality, and I don't think none of this stuff is coincidental. Oh, coincidentally, my page don't work. I can't do this, but everybody else can. It's just really sad. Like, they'll knock a whole watch party session out just so that people with powerful stuff talking about police brutality won't share things and keep on doing it. It's just crazy, but mic check.
yeah, mic check.
Mic check.
I wanted to reach back to something you said earlier. You talked about how they were talking about your testimony, and the guy said, "Well, we don't want your personal stories here. We don't want to hear about the tragedies in your family. We just want to know about what about this law, about this abstract thing." And this is kind of a one moment when they accidentally say the true part out loud, in that this is a system and it's not designed for people. It's not designed to deal with people's lives or people's wants or people's needs. It's designed to produce results, and usually those results are things like money for rich people and protection for white people, and sometimes those results are like laws that codify the protection of the police, but those results are all structured around the empire and the good of that system that accumulates and objectifies, and the whole purpose behind that system is to separate us from each other, to separate us from the world we live in, and to push away all of the humanity in people, and to separate us into individual pods so that we can't resist what's going on. And so I think that that's just one of those things. Like I said, sometimes they just accidentally say the true part out loud, and so that kind of struck me in that moment, that we don't want to hear about the pain that was caused by someone being murdered. We just want to know, what do you think in an abstract way about someone being murdered? And so So here, West Coalition, I think every week we try and fight back against that. And Bill just did a part for us where we talked about all the lives that were stolen all across this country by police. I do a part here where I talk about the lives that were stolen here in Baltimore. And so I'm just going to read those names and their ages out, and I just ask you to echo that back and hold those people in whatever way you do, and hold their families and their loved ones and their friends and their communities in prayer or in mind, or whatever it is that you do that.
Do you want us to repeat the names?
If you're so moved. Deontay Green, 40.
Deontay Green,
40.
40.
Terrell Billy, 25.
Terrell Billy, 25.
Terrell Billy, 25.
Timothy Oram, 34.
Timothy Oram, 34.
Marlon Royster, 29.
Marlon Royster.
Marlon Royster, 29.
Thank you.
Thank you. And
Thank
again,
you.
you need to listen to those names and remember, these are someone's loved ones. They were murdered. Like, their life was cut short. They wasn't sick. They didn't get into a car crash. And we still don't know, and we may never know who killed them. Like, we still don't know. I think they're purging. This is ridiculous. Like, that's someone loved. Families have to bury them. And for me, literally, to have to bury my own damn cousin, it's beyond speechless. And at the end of the day, it's heartbreaking. Something needs to be done. And then for me last night to let them put the commissioner in front of us hours before, put Merlin Mosley hours before, and they're playing this game. Merlin Mosley can sell a damn cow some milk. She's talking all this foolishness about, oh, this, that, and the third, and I'm all for the repeal and all this. If you for so much, why is Officer Keller Ruiz still working to be under your, like, this is ridiculous. Like, so they talk all this good talk, and then people that don't face this trauma, they're looking at them like, and they're just comfortable with the talk. They're like, oh, she's so good, and oh yeah, that's it. No, that's a bunch of foolishness. And then the commissioner, he's gonna talk about, oh yeah, because I'm all about rebuilding and gaining trust, and he's the same damn man that stopped, be crystal clear, that put that divide, kept that divide, because the divide has always been there, but instead of them trying to bridge it together and say, you know what, this sounds like a good opportunity to bridge a gap, between officers and people, family members that were stolen by officers. All we wanted to do was have a memorial site to honor our loved ones. Unfortunately, it's sad that anybody gets murdered, but you look at their little 5 memorials or whatever, however, and you looking at our 5 billion. Don't get mad because it's way. It's not about that. It's about a healing space. So why not say, you know what? Let them heal over there. Let us work together. Let us build. That could have been a building moment. But buddy, you screwed it up. You're doing just what you're doing. Just what you always do. Play that game. I'm tired of them with this Doug and Pony show, man. Mic check.
Mic check. I want to read a few more comments that were posted on Facebook. Linda said, in response to all the names of people stolen by the police, the lives stolen by police, she said, too many. Killam said, wow, shaking my head. Hillary said, way too many. Killam said, profound. When the people care, the system cares. And in response to Mara, when you spoke, Charlene said, speak on it, Mara, that the struggle is real. And Killam said, right, the only reason for that was the people putting that pressure on the system. And when, Tawana, when you mentioned where we had the outdoor rallies at 33rd Street, Killam said, yep, 33rd, right outside my job.
And thank you guys for commenting, and thank you, Uncle Bill. We appreciate your comments, and thank you, appreciate you as well. Appreciate you. 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 Appreciate mic check to see if anybody else want. So is Mara, do you want to say any more? And is there any way that we can support you? This is your opportunity to share anything you need support with, and in which ways we can help support you, because I love what you do. And I love that idea, because Uncle Bill was telling me about how you wanted to do the thing for Dr. Martin Luther King Day. That is beautiful. Like, so keep that. We gotta make it happen. Oh, and I wanted to share stuff with you, my queen, and I want you to get with me after this. And I didn't get a chance to share it with the West Coalition last night, because I had to hop off our daily meeting because I was stuck online for over 10 hours trying to testify. But nevertheless, I'm glad I'm having this conversation. But meanwhile, I'm getting with Mass Action. Remember them saying that we went out where George Floyd was murdered at? We got with them. Yeah, I love them. So what we're going to do, we're getting together, and what we're trying to do is basically do an action here surrounding the trials of the George Floyd upcoming trials and things like that. And we had the date that for March the 6th, we wanted to do something, and I suggested that maybe we do like, you know, like a solidarity day, like maybe we could do like a carpool, because I know a lot of people are not comfortable with this pandemic. You know, maybe, you know, we could like all pull together the West Coalition, different groups, and you know, on March the 6th, and do something like, and I believe that's on a Saturday, and we can all come together. Like, I think they said they wanted the time to be from 2 to 4, you know, that's like a short Cranford, but anybody who wanted to stay at the rally could, but we wanted to kind of break our way from the crowd, then come back, and we were going to do like a big Zoom meeting. We're still planning that, and I will give you guys more details, but I'm definitely trying to reach out to Baltimore Block, People Powers Assembly, and everything for that. So kind of write that date on for March the 6th coming up, because I want us all to turn up about this, but let them know that every case matters. Like, we're going to be out there and full effect to make sure that we not only get accountability for George Floyd, but for all the George Floyds, like you said, Queen, that's in Baltimore, you know, and around the world. So yeah, so I'm just throwing those dates out, and it's coming soon. So March the 6th, mark it on your calendar. I have an action coming up, and I'll let you guys know what's closer to the date.
I'll definitely be a part of that. I'm off on Saturdays, so I'm in there. Even if I was working, I would kick off. Yeah. For the Martin Luther King Parade, I suggested that they should incorporate the families of victims of police brutality, because that's what Martin Luther King stood for. I feel like, you know, we should have been incorporated in that, you know, the families and stuff. I'm grateful because they're down with it. So 2022, I think. Yeah. So that's a blessing. That's a blessing. I'm currently not doing anything right now with Jamal and stuff. We're getting ready for court and all that. But, you know, just support everybody. Every case matters. Every life matters. And I'm just, you know, grateful to be on here. Grateful to meet y'all. Y'all amazing. Thank y'all.
You want people to come out when the trial comes up?
I would love that, actually. Yeah. You know, we have to do the trial. I think they said the Baltimore County Police are the ones who killed him. So I'm pretty sure it's going to be in Baltimore County. My lawyer said we're looking at about June for this to happen, for everything to get pushed through.
Well, yeah. Well, Lisa says keep us posted. The same way we always give Keith Davis Jr. core support. We got your back. We got your back.
Thank you.
Yeah. I put it on the book. I'll go to work tomorrow, write it down. Hopefully I can fight it off like this. I love the kids, but anyway.
Yeah.
But
thank you.
I'll mark it on the calendar.
Yes, thank you.
All right, mic check. Do anybody else want to share anything before we wrap up?
I'll just say next week, after West Wednesday, is the challenge discussion, and we'll be finishing up the article about the good work that's being done in LA on the fight against police brutality and also against the evictions, and what we can learn from the struggle out there. So anyone would like to join in, that'd be great.
Oh, I'm glad you said that, Uncle Bill, because my mind with so much going on, because I have been, like I said, interviews after interview, stuff to do. Like tomorrow, I got another interview with the Real News tomorrow. I was actually thinking that meeting was for the night, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm tired, but I'm gonna be there. Like I'm gonna be there. But yeah, I'm so happy and excited for this next So yay, I'm excited. Right. So do anybody else have any things they want to share before we kind of wrap up? Going once.
Well, I'll just read one more comment. Hillary wrote on Facebook, look out for a March 6th action. That's what you were speaking of.
Yes, thank you so much, Hillary. Yes, because we definitely doing a big action on March the 6th, and then also we're gonna do a big Zoom debrief, and that's gonna be probably like they said 8 or 9 p.m. on Eastern Standard Time that Saturday as well, because we're gonna be doing these different groups like mass actions. They're gonna be doing theirs like in different parts. It's gonna be real epic. So I will definitely keep. So please, again, like Hillary said, look out for that date, mark that date on your calendar, because it's definitely gonna happen. So again, I want to thank each and every last one of you for your time, for your love, for your support, and I just love you guys so much. I don't say it, I don't use that word love generally, because everybody that I tell I love, I really love. Like, even if I don't even know you as like a whole person, but if you do like work that's loving and with respect, that definitely, I'm big on love. So, and I don't give my love to everybody. You definitely gotta earn it. But if you do like great things, I can definitely be like, oh, I love you, like, you know, and I really do. But I love each and every last one of you. I want you guys to keep doing the amazing work that you're doing. This is hard, but you guys remind me why life is still beautiful, why life is still very important, because when you get blows after blows with your loved ones being murdered, with just so much of stuff that is placed upon your plate that you don't even ask for. All we try to do is just make our way through work, go to work, come home, love on your family, and then your family members keep on dying, getting murdered, no one want to talk to you, and then you're dealing with a dirty system. It's really hard, but you guys remind me so much that love, true love, still really exists, and I love you guys, and I would not take you guys for granted. So thank you for being a part of this space. Big shout out all the time. And it's sad because all the time I'm wanting to give the West Coalition and everybody a big shout out, but we on different time platforms. They only be like, oh, you got 2 minutes or you got 5 minutes. And I'm like, damn, I gotta talk about the real issues, the real what you guys know that I appreciate. You know, I don't want you to ever feel like I don't appreciate y'all. Appreciate each and every last one of you. Hillary, thank you, Mick, for the special thing that you did for today at the post office. Just thank you for all that you guys do. I love you guys so much. So remember, live to love, love to live. But definitely don't forget that we're more than hashtags and body bags. We're more than being 6 feet in the dirt and pictures and buttons on t-shirts. Our lives matter. It may not matter to the ones that can actually pull a trigger or beat us down in the street, or just murder us and just walk the hell away and go eat their dinner. But it matters to the families that you leave behind that suffers like hell, because we didn't expect for our loved one to get murdered and now they're gone. And at the end of the day, a person don't look at, well, damn, they was killed by the police or somebody killed them in the community. They look at their loved one is gone. Their loved one is gone, and it makes no sense. So at the end of the day, let's fight together, let's win together, let's love each other. And remember, you can't say something nice sometimes. It's simple advice my mother taught me, something that I was born and raised off of. You can't say something nice, don't say nothing at all. Because sometimes that tongue can get you in trouble. Sometimes that tongue can be a breaking point of someone else's demise. Like they can literally be ready to just end their own life. Like literally so much, they can't take all the pressure. And you come out instead of you just not saying anything, and just listening, you say something to down them, and that's just it. That's just it. Then now late breaking news, so and so, this happened. Like, don't be there. You can't be a part of the solution. Please don't be the problem. So thank you guys. And our brother Ben is going to take you out with a very great, horrible video. When I say great, because great means great details. We definitely know what we want. We want Killer Ruiz and herself locked ASAP. We wonder why Marilyn Mosby hasn't done anything. I get no joy in showing this video week after week. But guess what? We're going to show it until they do something about it. Something needs to be done. And as we started, unfortunately, Ruiz is a terrorist that is terrorizing Baltimore City residents. He started off with 6 victims that we knew about, and now I'm learning 18 more. What about the complaints that we never know? What about the people that were too afraid to come and go down there and give all their personal information? Because remember, when you file a complaint, that is, you have to show the driver's license, you have to give them your address and everything, and people being fear of retaliation, because retaliation is real. I'm sorry, it is what it is. But again, remember, cell blocks for killing cops. We can't stop, we won't stop until killing cops are in cell block. So watch this video, please sit again and make sure we do something. You can call Marilyn Woolsey office up and tell her when you get on the phone, let her know or let her office know that Wise Ruiz still walking the beat, or Wise Keith Davis Jr. in jail, suffering for a crime he didn't commit. He had the bullet that they left in him. That's her blood. His Keith Davis Jr. blood is on her damn hands. And then now he's suffering from COVID. He needs to be out. He needs to be with his wife Kelly. He needs to be with his kids. Cell blocks for killing cops. Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check.
Mike.
And Mr. West begging for his life, and Mr. Salam begging for his child to be excluded and comforted from what was taking place. Not for himself, but for his 3-year-old child.
Case number 4, Adina Britt and family, September 10th, 2015.
My name is Adina Britt, and I wanted to submit a 30-second testimonial that Jorge Omar Bernardez Ruiz is one of the 11 terrorists that came into my house performing a home invasion in September 2015, terrorizing my entire family and even holding my 12-year-old son at gunpoint. He needs to be stopped.
Case number 5, unidentified arrestee, assaulted in 2016.
It's a chance to back the fuck up. No.
Again, this video did not surface until the summer of 2020. Case 6, Thomas McCullough, May 2016 and February 2017.
I heard my front door coming off the hinges like it exploded.
Thomas McCullough says it happened twice. In May 2016 and February 2017, Baltimore City Police burst through his green front door and raided his Pimlico home.
They said police. They come up, shotguns, guns.
He says officers ransacked the place, looking for drugs, money, and weapons. He took pictures of the damage he says they left behind.
Tell us where the drugs are, the scales, the guns, and them large amounts of money.
Nothing was found. Now he's suing police, claiming officers, including a former member of the Gun Trace Task Force, frightened him, his wife, and father-in-law when the officers conducted what his suit calls an illegal search of his home. The owner of the house tells 11 News after the second raid, he had to replace the front door. McCullough and his attorney say they want Baltimore police held accountable.
There is a colossal breach of trust.
And McCullough tells us following both raids, no one was arrested or charged.
This all begs the question, when will Baltimore City State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby see the prosecution of Bernardez Ruiz as warranted?
They were the stopping officers in these so-called jump-out cars, unmarked and so forth, that stopped both the West vehicle and the Salam vehicle without probable cause. And these officers are the ones that also were joined by others, but they are the ones who initiated the stops, pulled both men out of the vehicles, and commenced the vicious activity that was thrust upon them.
And the officer Ruiz that started this attack is still working and working with promotions. He is now sergeant. But the fact that this repeat violent offender had a history leading up to my brother. There was Darrell Harris, there was James Green, Joseph Green, Abdul Salam, and my sister Dina and her family. No one family deserves to be brutally murdered were brutalized by this repeat violent offender Ruiz. It is time we take action. The time is now.
Baltimore police officer Jorge Bernardes Ruiz is a repeat violent offender. Based on these accounts, in accordance with the law, we, the West Coalition, call for him to be fired, prosecuted, and incarcerated.
We're more than hashtags and body bags. We're more than being 6 feet in the dirt and pictures and buttons on t-shirts. Our lives matter.
For the safety of our city, the prevention of further harm, and the justice for these families, we see no other option.
And again, I'll say, the time is now.